Hello. Did you know this little Rubik's Cube embodies 4 key principles of innovation? And I've given myself a challenge. I'm going to explain them to you while trying to solve it at the same time. Now, I can usually solve this in less than 1 minute, but I have to say, trying to do it while talking is unbelievably difficult. It actually physically hurts my brain. So my only aim is to get through this with my brain still intact. I'll probably make some mistakes along the way, but life's no fun without pressure and mistakes. So here goes. The first principle. The first principle is about love. Now bear with me, this will make sense. At first glance, reality can seem simple, when it is in fact immeasurably complex. This cube only has 26 unique pieces, which doesn't sound like much. Yet they create 43 quintillion possible combinations. Quintillion. That's 43 with 18 zeros. So let's put that in perspective. Try and imagine this. Try to imagine every second that has passed since the beginning of time. How large do you think that number is? Well, 43 quintillion is 100 times larger than that. This little cube in my hand has 100 times more possibilities than every second since the beginning of time. How can that even be? In fact, the random scramble I started with was probably never seen by any human ever before. Every random starting point is unique, and any system where every starting point is unique is by definition complex. So what do we know about complex systems? Well, we know this. We know there's virtually no chance of solving for a desired outcome randomly. This is what an organization is doing effectively when it's running random innovation pilots, in the hope that something might just stick. We know that if you hand this to someone who doesn't understand it, the odds of solving it are basically zero. That is akin to an organization asking someone unqualified or demanding of its people generally to just innovate. We know that if you try to solve one side only, which is immeasurably easier to do, we can call it the quick win side, it will create more constraints that make it impossible to solve the rest. We see this in organizations as a resource deficit, or when a business applies technology without addressing the complex ecosystem it works within, then wondering why things have become harder rather than better. We also know that if you try to solve this with the wrong beliefs and the wrong methods, you won't solve it. It's actually very similar to just doing it randomly, just with the illusion of a method. Maybe this illusory method even has a name. That's when people say things like, we've tried innovation before and it didn't work. So how do you understand a complex problem and solve for it? Well, one of the most remarkable innovators in the world, Google X, say this about the question. You must start by loving the problem. Now, why is Google X talking about love? Well, let's think about it. Imagine this for a moment. When you love something, how do you see it? Do you see it the same as other things? When you love something, you want to understand everything about it, how it works, how it feels, how it moves, what constrains it. You're compelled towards it in a different way. To love this problem was to understand its anatomy, its possible combinations, its constraints, how it changes. But more important still, to love a problem is to spend a lot of time deeply immersed in the problem, with insatiable curiosity, exceptional expertise, a restless dialogue, and time time to explore its permutations and limits under different conditions. Only then can you start to really understand something complex and what's actually possible. So the first principle is this: the only way to solve for complex problems by innovating is to start by loving the problem. The second principle is about monkeys. Again, bear with me. Complex problems can't be solved in one leap because they have an unimaginable number of permutations and the constraints of inertia. That's just a technical way of saying how sticky is the status quo. You need multiple progressive steps, each revealing new possibilities that were not there before. Here's the catch. You must start with solving the hardest one first. But why the hardest one? Shouldn't we just bank all the easy ones first to make some progress? Well, let's think about it. If you don't address the hardest problems first, you'll never actually determine if what you're even pursuing is even viable. The hardest problems remain unsolved, and they still remain very hard, and the easy stuff can be solved anyway. So you pursue those quick wins, then you look back and find that no new possibilities were created, but you depleted the attention of your scarce resources on the easy things, when the hard things needed a lot of attention. Now, doing so might have some value in reality. For example, in helping stakeholders engage in change. But that's not the same as innovation. That needs to be treated as a conscious necessary cost in the art of enabling change, not a process of innovation. Google X call this tackling the monkey first. But why are they talking about monkeys? The example they give is this. If you need to teach a monkey to read Shakespeare while standing on a stool, what should you do first? They say, don't start by building the stool, because that won't determine if it's even possible. Figure out how you're going to teach the monkey. Start iterating purposefully to determine how you're going to even go about that. What's it going to take? And is it even possible? That's actually what is meant by the term fail fast, which is often used incorrectly. For the Rubik's Cube, without an omniscient power of a prodigy or an app, you always start with the fixed points first. These are the biggest constraints in this system. If you don't, you will not be able to overcome these constraints later down the line. So the second principle is this. You must have the resolve to tackle the monkey first, so that each step can actually determine if what you are trying to do is more or less possible. Now, the third principle is about displacement, and that's one of my favorite principles from physics. The bottom line is this. There is no such thing as innovation without displacement. To solve this cube, I had to displace the pieces to move and change their configuration. Every system has a configuration, a status quo, whether you know it or not, whether you can see it or not. To change that system or part of it, you must displace pieces out of their current configuration. Now, when dealing with complex problems, the whole process is one of progressive displacement, each one creating new configurations along the way. Some will show you what doesn't work, some will show you what does work. And the skill of innovation is to progressively surface what does work and to move towards it. So the third principle is this. You can only say that you have innovated if you can say that you have displaced in the current system. Now, the last principle is about eating glass. And bear with me one more time. Innovation is often romanticized in our culture. When we think of innovation, we might think of wacky ideas, wantonness, just try stuff and see what works or what sticks, almost a randomness or a desirable chaos. These are cocktails of partial truths, but it's not those things. We also think of those great innovators who seem out of this world. They seem inaccessible, complete outliers. And yes, there is an outlier nature to innovation. It is not in the average by definition. You do need to see new possibilities in this immeasurably complex world. And by definition, you need outlier tenacity. What does that mean? It means to bring about displacement, you need more tenacity than a meaningful sum of the others in the system who will resist that change. It's as fundamental as physics itself. But here's the good news. With the right conditions, it's learnable. Innovation has principles, it has models, it has methods, and they can be learned. So how do you think you can learn them? Of course, it's through purposeful action and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of purposeful practice. We all did this as children naturally. Children haven't yet formed their mental models of the world, both physically and socially. So they're not yet bound by rigid assumptions and fears of failure. We used to test our mental models of the world repeatedly to find what works. Of course, by definition, almost all new ideas don't work. That's exactly the point. We saw new possibilities, we're willing to experiment with them, collaborate with them, in uncertainty to see what works. That's why, quite remarkably, 5-year-olds consistently outperform business executives, business teams, MBA graduates in complex team challenges, like building the tallest possible spaghetti tower that can support the weight of a marshmallow on top. 5-year-olds outperform business executives. Isn't that incredible? So we were all inherent innovators once, but as adults, our rigid predictive brains crave certainty, and we harden our mental models of the world over time. But as we all have slightly different mental models of the world, one of the best ways to create new possibilities is to work with others. But that takes no ego and a deep curiosity about what they see and why they see it that way. That's what's meant by cognitive diversity. Now, anyone who's tried to change a stubborn habit as an adult, or tried to learn a difficult new habit as an adult, knows all too painfully well that it is as painful as eating glass. So what's it like trying to change the habit of a whole organization of people? It takes sound principle, models, methods. It takes choices and decisions. It takes lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of purposeful, painful practice. And it still may not work out as envisaged. It's the same with this cube. I could explain it now, but you probably still couldn't do it without the pain threshold to eat glass, purposeful practice, and time. But with that, this seemingly impossible problem that no one has ever seen before can be solved by a mere mortal like me. So the next time you wonder why innovation feels so hard, why there isn't more of it, just remember this. The distance between you and a solution to a seemingly impossible problem that no one has ever seen before is just the following: the capability to love the problem, the resolve to tackle the monkey first, the outlier tenacity to create displacement in a resisting system that's much bigger than you, and the pain threshold to somehow enjoy relentlessly eating glass.